Stacey Laforme is well known to most Rotarians. He was invited to speak at the Rotary International Convention in Toronto in 2018. He currently resides with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Stacey's political career began in the late 1990s with his election to the Mississauga of the Credit First Nations Council. He was elected chief in 2015, a position he held until his retirement in 2023. Throughout his career, Stacey has established long relationships with political figures at the municipal, provincial, and federal levels. He has met with several members of the British royal family, including King Charles III in 2022, enhancing his influential role in promoting Indigenous issues and highlighting the importance of Indigenous voices in the broader dialogue between Canada and the Crown. Stacey is a celebrated poet and storyteller. He has a newly released book of poems called Love, Life, and Loss, which he would love to sell to you. After retiring as chief, Stacey continues to be active in cultural advocacy and public engagements. He remains committed to advancing Indigenous rights and reconciliation, aiming to bridge the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities. He believes that everyone has an obligation to make the world just a little bit better. Please welcome to the stage, just a second. Before we invite him to the stage, we would like also to present Kelly Laforme, Stacey's son, who will precede his father with a welcome drum song.
Thanks. That's very kind of you. Can we get another round of applause for the welcoming drum song? I appreciate that so much.
I sit here crying. I don't know why. I didn't know the children. I didn't know the parents. But I knew their spirit. I knew their love. I know their loss. I know the potential. And I am overwhelmed by the pain and the hurt. The pain of the families and friends. The pain of an entire people. Unable to protect them. To help them. Comfort them, to love them. I did not know them, but the pain is so real, so personal. I felt it in my core, my heart, my spirit. I sit here crying, and I'm not ashamed. I will cry for them and many others like them. I will cry for you. I will cry for me. I'll cry for what could have been. Then I will calm myself. Smudge myself. Offer prayers. And know they are no longer in pain. No longer do they hurt. They are at peace. In time I will tell the story. I will educate society. So the memory is not lost in this world. And when I'm asked, what does reconciliation mean to me? I will say, I want their lives back. I want them to live, to soar. I want to hear their laughter, see their smiles. Give me that, and I'll grant you reconciliation.
So that poem I wrote on the eve of the discovery of the 215 children found on the residential school site. And I will tell you that when I wrote it, I was sad, I was hurt, I was angry, I had tears. You know, we always knew our children were still not coming home, that some of them were at the schools and would never come home, and some of them were lost and buried. But it's one thing to know that, and it's another to hear it announced on the TVs and radios and right in your face. So that sort of broke my heart and the heart of many others. And so I wrote this poem that evening, and the next day people wanted to interview me about the children and discovery. And so I said, yeah, I'll do the interview, but unfortunately for the people interviewing me, they did it live, so they had to listen to the whole poem as I recited it on TV. Well, the lady interviewing me broke down a little bit and had some tears. But my friends Kevin Hearns from the Bare Naked Ladies and Josh Finlinson from Sky Diggers, who were both a member of Gord Downey's Secret Path band, at the end, asked if they could put music to it in a video. And I said, yeah, sure. And they said, do you want to come in and record it, or can we just take it off of TV? And I said, just take it off of TV. And so they did that. And now I don't hardly ever read the poem anymore, because there's three mediums there, right? There's art, there's visual, and then there's spoken word and the music. And I think that when art builds upon art, it has such a powerful impact that I say, let's play the video if we can instead. So when that happened, we, Mississaugas Credit, and I said, we called on the federal government to lower the flags, we called on the provincial government to lower the flags, and I got on the phone and called all the mayors I knew and said, lower your flags. And most of them said, consider it done, or we'll do it right away. One said, I'll do it, but I have to go through a protocol our city demands, and so that was fine. And so they did that. Now, what people don't know is that when I did it, I said, when we did this and when I talked about it, I said, this is about the people of this land coming together to grieve together, to express love and hope together and respect. Because these are the children of this land, of this country. These are not just the indigenous children. These are all of our children. And I took some, not abuse, but people who certainly strongly disagreed with me and said, we want accountability, we want people punished, we want money to look for more sites, we want this and that. And I said, those things will come, and that's important, and they have. But I said, this is a moment in the life of this country to change and shift the way we see the world around us and our place within it. And I thought that in this moment, the most important thing was trying to change the life of this country. And that's always been my goal, to shift the way we view the world around us and each other. And I know we're talking, this poem talks about reconciliation, but without inclusion and acceptance of diversity, there is no reconciliation for anybody. And quite frankly, when we talk about reconciliation, I make sure that I don't talk about just the indigenous issues, because there are so many people who live within the confines of these systems that were not built for them either. There are so many other marginalized parts of society that suffer through the same process. Well, maybe not exactly the same, the indigenous people. I mean, we were the treaty holders, the land holders, but the systems that they live within weren't designed for them and don't treat them any better. And so I always say we cannot forget about these others, because they are our allies. And the quickest way to divide an ally is to say, I will focus on you, you get on this pedestal and I'll fix things with you, and you guys wait your turn. I said, absolutely not. So many a times I've talked in my political world about how this does not work. You know, I once had a minister of Indigenous Affairs, I forget, I mean, I split it, but I even forget her name, but she's a very passionate woman. I always wanted to get things done, so I liked her. And we were talking about how we get children out of care, because Indigenous children in care in some provinces represents 80% or 90% of children in care. And I know it's, and so we talked about that, and she said, we're going to help you get your children out of care. And I said, and this is in a room with ministers and others and other chiefs and stuff, and I said, yes, we're going to get our children back. Yes, we're going to look after our children because we have to. And I said, but then what? Am I just supposed to forget about all the other children who were in care? Am I just supposed to forget about those who are marginalized and suffer? I said, no, we have to work on all of us. And so that was my message at the time. And like I said, people were demanding other things, and those things are coming like they should. But in the moment, the most important thing was trying to shift the way Canadians saw each other and the world around them. And to me, that was important. So I'm actually way into my spiel here before I even introduce myself. So Ani, Bazu, Nagani, Anishinaabekinini, Stacey Laforme, Disnakas, Credit Dunjaba, Mayinga Dodum, Mississauga, Anishinaabe Dao. I said, where I'm from, what my clan is, what my language is, what my Anishinaabe name is, and I told you how much I paid for this shirt. $170. Okay, well, I actually wrote my clan. So my mother's a Mohawk from Six Nations, so if I follow my mother's side, my clan is Wolf, which I wear a ring for. My father's a Mississauga, so Anishinaabe, Ojibwe. If I follow his clan, I'm a turtle. So I usually choose Wolf because sexy. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, have you ever like went into the bush and say, "Wow, look at that turtle! He just took my breath away." I'm joking, of course. The clans are very important throughout our system, so it's important that you realize that. Now, I do have a turtle clan on this, but I wanted to ask you about just tell you about the shirt. First off, and I have to be careful, I only have a limited time. First off, do you like the shirt? So I have some pretty, I've had like 30 ribbon shirts over the course of my life, I guess, or maybe more. And I had this one powdered blue satin or silk ribbon shirt on in Toronto one day, and it said Mississauga across the back. And I was in the store, and a man goes up to me, he goes, "That's a nice shirt." I said, "Thank you." He went on to say, "It takes a special kind of man to wear a shirt like that." So I chuckled and said, "Thank you," right? And it reminded me that, when I was young, I'd have been too afraid to dress like that, like this, too afraid of what others would say or what I thought they would say. But the truth is, we should never have to change to fit into society. The world around us should adapt to embrace our uniqueness. And that's a fundamental principle that we should all remember. Now, the best thing about that story, and I encourage you to always keep your minds open to ideas and thoughts and wisdom, wherever they come from. Because the best thing about this story is, this happened about a week before I was going to open or welcome those from the North American Indigenous Games. So youth gathered in this building and all around a big auditorium, and I was in the middle, and I got to tell that story to them right then and there, reminding them how important it is to be yourself, how important it is to have pride, how important it is to be who you want to be and let the world accept you. And so I never would have got that moment if it hadn't for that gentleman come up to me in the store and saying what he said to me. So I encourage you to always be open for ideologies that come about in strange ways. Now I want to read you a poem that came out of that, because I write poetry, and you don't have to buy my book. I'm not here to sell you my books, although it's $19.95 at your local bookstores, and this one's $24.95 on Amazon. But entirely up to you. So my story is, came out of that story. It's called Who Am I? Who am I? Where do I belong? It is a question that all seek to answer. Some people will try and tell you who you are or who you are not. They will tell you that you do or do not belong. Never listen to them, for who you are is always here in your breast where your spirit lives. Your heart and spirit remember, even if your mind forgets. We may lose our way. We may seek others to help guide us. But inside, sometimes deep inside, there is the answer. It sometimes takes language or culture to guide us. It sometimes takes sport or learning, for there is no one way. Yet once we understand and come to realize who we are, we come to understand that we belong anywhere and everywhere. Never let another determine who you are or tell you where you belong. You know your worth, your value. You were dreamed in the mind of the Creator. The Creator dreamed of the most beautiful creature you could imagine. Then He made you. You know this. Your mind just needs to listen to your heart and remember who you are and where you belong. Everywhere. Okay, thank you. I didn't see who started clapping first, but I have another event tomorrow, and if you wouldn't mind meeting me there, it helps. Some people, you go to events, and especially when I've learned over time, cultural events, people are like, do I clap? Do I nod? What do I do? And so with me, I'll just point at you. Or I'll like this. We don't got a lot of time. We don't clap. I'm like so I have a Rotarian story that I'd really love to tell you, and it's about the international gathering that was in Toronto. I don't know how much time I have left, and I really want to get to another point. Oh no, I'll go to this other point, and then I'll come back if I have time for the Rotarian story. So when we look at where we are in the world, everything's about reconciliation because of the evolution of our world. But everything's also about inclusion and welcoming diversity and how do we move forward. You know, people talk about AI being the next great invention, and you know, AI is good, but when people look at anything they're developing or working on, they have a habit of looking at things in incremental ways. And in fact, I think that before you look at any steps incrementally, you should look at things over in a broad picture and then come back to incremental and see how it affects things. But people think AI is the next big invention or something else is the next big invention, but those things that we invent are all stopgaps. They take time and fill up space, give us a little more time to get things right, but they are not the answer. The answer is the next evolutionary step in humanity. We have to shift how we see ourselves in the world that surrounds us and how we see each other. Those are the big things. You know, there's another poem I have that I wrote just so I could say this line I'm going to say to you. I'll skip the poem, we don't have time. But I've been saying this for a while now, but instead of thinking of climate change as a problem to be solved, think of Mother Earth as a soul to be saved. If you can do that, you can change everything. Thank you. Because you can't make a paradigm shift like that without it affecting everything. You can't view that without changing how you see yourself, how you interact with your family and friends and strangers. And so I tell people, this is a good way to change the world. Now maybe you won't be enough to change, maybe you won't do enough to change the world, but you can change your world, and that is equally important. And if enough of us change the way we see it, maybe we can save the world. So I think those are the fundamental shifts that we need to see the world over to make a better life. Now, somebody from the back, and I know you don't want to do this, but yell out how much time I have left so I'll know. How much? You're good. I'm good. I'm good. Okay, so the Rotarian story. Yay! So, I love Rotarians, I gotta say this. Are you all Rotarians? Oh, that was the right thing to say. I love you. No, just kidding. So, and I gotta say that if there's one thing I learned about Rotarians, you're very process-driven is how I'll put it. And as you can tell, I am not. And so they come to me, they contact me and say, we would love for you to open the International Rotarians Gathering in Toronto. Would you do it? And they said 30,000 people. I go, 30,000? Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, sure. When is it? A year. Oh, well, thanks for the heads up. So anyway, they contact me like 6 months or maybe a little earlier than that. 6 months, they say, okay, we need we need a headshot, we need your bio and your speech. I go, oh, that's reasonable. 3 months go by and I procrastinate. And I haven't sent them any, and they go, Chief, we really need your headshot, your bio, and your speech. Yes, sir, I'll get right on that. But the thing is, I'm just as likely to write my speech in the car on the way to the event as I am to write one in advance, so like this one. So anyway, it gets down to a month left, or maybe last 3 weeks, and they said, we really need these things, and I could tell they're getting anxious. And so I said, well, just take a picture off the internet. I don't care what it looks like. And they said, no, it has to be a certain quality. So somebody in the office sent them a picture that was laying around, I don't know. And then Then with a couple weeks left, I sent them my bio. I finally put something together and sent it. I didn't have one before, so I said thank them for that. So I sent them my bio, and then with maybe a week to go, they said, we really need your speech. All right. Okay, so I wrote my speech, and I included 2 poems that I thought, this is perfect for what they're trying to say and do at this event. And so I sent that in, and they sent me back an email. I said, Chief, according to our word counter, you're over the allotted time we have allowed for you. And I said, okay, that's nice. I tried to be helpful. So I took one poem out and sent it back. And I didn't hear anything. And then I got an email, you must come in and rehearse. I said, okay. So I went to Toronto, and it was the day before. And I get there, and I got to say that this is the first time I ever got to use those invisible teleprompters. And those things are awesome. I could make contact with everybody in that room. And so that was great. And so I went there and I read my spiel, and I go, oh, you took out both poems. And so I thought for a minute, and I go, I don't think I can do this. You talk about respect and wanting to work with Indigenous peoples and be partners and stuff. I said, I kind of feel like this is opposite of that. So no offense to your organization, but I think you're going to have to find somebody else to open this tomorrow. Now to me, it's not a big deal, 30,000 people is nice, but if I don't do it here, I'll do it tomorrow with somebody else, and I'll talk to other people. So it's not a big deal to me. But I've just told these Rotarians who are very process-driven that you now have 12 hours to go find somebody's bio, picture, and speech and get it online and ready to go, not to mention advertise. So I never thought of that when I did it. But anyway, they came back and they left the room, and then they came back and said, Chief, you can take all the time you need. And I said, oh, thank you very much. And then we're all going to go our separate ways. And I said, hold on a minute. I said, we all get caught up in the moment, and we all react in that moment. I said, but what we should do is step back and make sure that the moment we're in is in keeping with our philosophy of who we are and who we want to be, whether that's a person or an organization, because that's important. Because if you're not acting in that moment like that, then you do yourself and your organization an injustice accidentally. So always take the time to step back and make sure in that moment it's in keeping with who you are and who you want to be. And so that was another lesson I learned, and I thank the Rotarians so much for that teaching. And I use it all the time now to talk to people, because I get caught up in that too. And out of that came another poem that I will read you, and then I'll wrap it up because I know I'm going long. Now you realize that I only had a lot of time, but because of that story, they're not going to ask me to leave the stage. I'm going to be up here all day. I just want to read this last poem, and then I'll make my way off the stage, and I want Kelly to come back and do a closing song for me, our section. It's called Common Ground. No one thing can define us, for we are complex creatures dreamed in the mind of the Creator. We laugh when we should cry. We cry when we should laugh. We joke when in pain. We smile because tears could consume us. We love unconditionally and totally. We understand that family should come first, yet family is not defined solely by blood. We are quick to anger, yet no one forgives faster. We are loyal and we are strong. When we commit, we are unwavering. We have survived much, but do not mistake adaptation for resignation. You will always see us, for we will always be here, standing for what we believe in, standing beside each other, doing what is right for our children, our future. We remember our obligation to our Mother the Earth, and we remember our place upon her. We are proud people, an honorable people. We do not always do right, for we are human and prone to the follies of humanity. Yet we strive to be better, to make each other better, to make the world a better place for the children. I know the Creator smiles upon us no matter where we are or what we do, for the love of a child is unconditional. No matter where life takes you, walk proud. I read you that poem because I believe that wherever you are and whoever you are, that when you hear that, you hear something of yourself, even if it's just a small part. of yourself within that poem. And that teaches us that no matter how far apart we may seem, we're never so far that we can't find common ground. And I think that too is something that the world needs to remember and focus on. So I leave you with my last thought of, the future for us is all about how we see ourselves in the worlds that surround us and how we see and view each other. We have so many things in common that we do that separate us. People think this is a huge world with all these resources, but when you look at us, we're a speck in the galaxy, in the universe. We're tiny. And the people on this planet, we've been thinking that it's so big that we have nothing in common with people across the waters. But the truth is, they are our brothers and sisters. If not our brothers and sisters, they're our neighbors. And it's time we start looking at this world and each other like that. So thank you for listening to me. Giima Gwitch, Bamapi, that's it for me. Okay. Okay. Oh, wait, did you want to say something? Or?
Yeah.
Just take it and run.
Just take and run. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming, and it's great to hear you about all those things that you are, and you are there here for the books also. So people, if you want to buy a book from Stacey, is available, and he's there. And thank you so much for coming. Take care.
Yeah, I would have phrased that differently, but Rotarians are also very practical people. Thank you, Richard. Thank you. Thank you so much.
go day, on it to ya, way high, way, way high, way high, way Jimmy Grits go day, Manitou, ya. Jimmy Grits go day, Manitou, ya. Way high, way, way high, way high. Kingo Shana Wenje Bemo say hey hey oh way oh hey way oh hey way oh hey ah way ah oh way oh hey ah hey oh way oh hey way oh hey way oh hey ah way ah oh way oh hey ah hey oh way oh hey way oh hey way oh hey ah way ah oh way oh hey ah hey oh Kingo Shana Wenje Bemo say hey oh way oh hey way oh hey way oh hey ah way ah oh way oh hey ah hey oh way oh hey way oh hey way oh hey ah way ah oh way oh hey ah hey oh way oh hey way oh hey way oh hey ah way ah oh way oh hey ah hey oh Kingo Shana Wenje Bemo say hey oh way oh hey way oh hey way oh hey ah way ah oh way oh hey ah hey oh
Miigwech, Samapi, Mumako Abnum.
Big thank you again to Kelly Laforme. Thank you.